as we, oh, the recording in progress. Got it. Okay. Okay. As we were trying to figure out what we were going to talk about today, I was looking back in my notebook and I found the notes from our very first Red Hot Coffee Club, when I was a Red Jacket. And I was like, ooh, these are good notes. I think this would be really helpful and encouraging for everyone to hear. And so that is kind of what we're going to go over is some of those notes from back in, I want to say it was February, was our very first call. So today we are going to be talking about maximizing your time, the value of getting help, and how to track your numbers. And so, as a Red, you all bring so much insight and ideas and leadership to the table. And we today just want to encourage and empower you. So that's our goal is by the end of this morning's call that you feel empowered, you feel confident, you feel proud to be in that Red Jacket. And so we're just going to give you some practical tips. You may be challenged and stretched a little bit, but we just pray that this morning is a blessing for you. And I am excited to learn right alongside with you. So I don't remember who's talking first. I think maybe it's Mary is going first. But I'm excited. Let's get going.
Yes, it is me. So good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh my gosh, I love doing this event because I think it truly is like we learn just as much as you guys do. Like it's always a reminder for us of things. It's always confirmation of things, like all of that. And our hope and our prayer is that this does encourage you. And I know we're going to talk about some things today that might touch on things that you might have heard a time or two, but I think it's a great reminder that sometimes it is the simple things that we need to remember. And it's the simple things that sometimes can trip us up or hold us up, or just simple things that we need to tweak a little bit. So as we're talking today, like Jennifer said, we're going to go over, we're going to kind of recap some of the things that we did on one of our very first calls, because it is such a timely thing right now, because we really want to talk about, especially in this month of double credit, how to be able to maximize yourself in your business. And so we kind of broke that down into 3 different categories. And so we're going to hit on each of these. And so one of them is how to maximize your time. The other one is what support that you need. And then we're going to talk a little bit about tracking and how that can play into this month of double credit, and any month really, but especially this month as well. And so I'm going to start us off with talking about how to maximize your time. And again, I know this is probably one of the things that you guys are like, Mary, we have heard about this lots of times. Okay, we get it. But I think especially right now, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but especially right now with, if you've got school age kids, they went back to school and you're trying to get into a routine for that. Or maybe it's just the season of going from summer to fall, that the things that you were doing in the summer, you're not doing in the fall, or maybe you're doing more in the fall than you were in the summer. I mean, lots of different things go for our time and our attention. And so I think it really is important to take some time to stop and reflect on that, and to really think about what that looks like. And, and how to maximize that, because we wear so many hats. You're a wife, you're a mom, you may work another job, you may do all of these things, and all of those are vying for your attention, and all of those are vying for your time. And so it truly is a matter of, how do I take the hours that I'm given? What is it? We have 168 hours in each week, and everybody has that same amount of time. So what's the difference between somebody that is at the level that you want to be, or at the position that you want to be, or whatever that looks like? What's the difference between how they spend their time versus how you spend your time? And so one of the things that I want to talk about, that as we were planning for this, that goes right along with that, is the idea of, and this is actually something I'm going to do for myself this coming week, is a time study. Because I think there's a lot of times that we think that we're working, we think that we're being productive, and we think that we're working Mary Kay, or maybe our family thinks that we're working Mary Kay all the time. Maybe that's a thought as well. And so to take take the time to do a time study. And basically what this is, Linda Tupin, our National Sales Director Emeriti, always talked about this, is to take a weekly plan sheet and to keep track of what it is that you're actually doing. Because sometimes that's a real eye opener as to how much time we are spending on things that maybe are not serving us very well. Like, have you guys ever, I mean, I'm sure we're all guilty of this, sat down and you're like, okay, I'm just going to sit here with my coffee and look at my phone for a little bit. And the next thing you know, like 45 minutes or an hour has like where did the time go, right? And so those kind of things that we do that maybe are productive in Mary Kay, and we only think, oh, this will only take me 15 minutes. I'll just squeeze this in here. And it truly takes us longer than that. And then we get frustrated because we are frustrated with ourselves because it took longer than we thought it was going to take. I used this phrase actually in a conversation actually with Vicki this week, and it's very applicable to things in time, in relationships, is that when we get frustrated, a lot of times it's because our expectations are not being met. And sometimes when those expectations aren't met, it's because we didn't either set realistic expectations, as far as time goes, or we didn't speak what our expectations were. So if we're having a conversation, perhaps, sometimes this comes into play with husbands, is we are expecting one thing and they do a different thing, but they did it, like we expect them to read our minds, you know what I'm saying? And that doesn't, we love our husbands, but they cannot read, they cannot read our minds. And so that's one of the things that I would challenge you guys to do, is to do a time study so that you are clear as far as where your time is being spent, to know what needs to be adjusted, if anything. Maybe you do a time study and it shows that you are on the right track, but maybe it shows a little, like just a little thing that can be tweaked to give you more of what you're looking for in your business. So along with that, or once you've done that time study, then you can kind of look at like, okay, how am I spending my time? And then we can flip it to how do I want to spend my time? This is what I'm actually doing. How do I need to adjust that? Looking at like what habits do you need to change? I love it. I don't know if you guys, I know a lot of you follow Heather Daniel Kent right now. And that's one of the things that she is sharing with people, is that when she wakes up, she always instinctively had her phone. She went to her phone and she knew that that was not a habit that was serving her well. So now when she wakes up, she does not reach for her phone. Instead, she reaches for a book to be able to read first, so that she's starting her day off that way. So thinking about how you want to spend your time, and to take a weekly plan sheet. And again, I know you've heard us talk about weekly plan sheets all the time, and it's always such a good reminder. And if you're not sure where to find it, if you just go to Mary Kay In Touch and in the search bar type weekly plan sheet, it will pull up a PDF for you to be able to print out. And so what does your ideal week look like? If you could have the perfect week with all the harmony between your family, your job, your Mary Kay business, what would that week look like? And start to plan your weeks to look like that. When is your family time? When is your Mary Kay time? When is your quiet time? When are you working your other job? All of those things play into there. And this is where, when we talk about Mary Kay, talking about God first, family second, and career third, this is where that can truly come into play, because you get to design what your time looks like. And I would actually add in there, like, of course, first is your faith. So put on your quiet time, put on church, put on, any of those activities that you have, Bible study, all of those things, so that is your first priority. And then I would actually add in here, before your family, I would actually add in yourself. What is it that you need to do to take care of yourself, to fill your cup, so that you can pour into your family, in your business, in your job, so get your, faith time, then you time. And so that's kind of still a little bit with that, with quiet time and things, but it's also exercise. It's also your sleep, making sure you're going to bed when you want to go to bed, waking up when you need to wake up. When are you exercising? When are you eating? Do you need to set aside time to plan your meals so that you're eating healthy and not eating, you know, you know, fast food all the time, all of those kind of things, so that you are taking care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else is going to do it, you know? And for you to be able to do that, that's going to give you the energy, the emotional stamina, the mental stamina to do all the other things that you need to do. And then, of course, putting in their family time. Do you have a date night? Do you have a family night? Do you want to not work after a certain time so that you can be devoted to your family? All of those things. And again, everybody is different on that. Your schedule is going to look different than somebody else's. And that's okay, as long as it works for you and your family. All right. If it works for you, don't question it. Don't compare it. Make sure it's what works for you. And then, of course, fitting in your Mary Kay time. You know, when are you going to work your business? How many times, how many nights do you want to work your Mary Kay business? I always remember Amy Kemp, a top sales director, always talking about that she knew her limit was 2 nights a week. Like, she could only be gone from her home 2 nights a week, just because they had very active kids, that if she was gone more than that, then it just kind of sent everything into, chaos. And so knowing that, when do you want to do in-person parties? When do you want to do virtual parties? What does that look like? And I always remind people with this is, you are a professional, all right? Any office that you go to, a doctor's office, your hairdresser, all of those kind of things, they schedule things around what works for them. It's not, the doctor's office doesn't, you don't call the doctor's office to make an appointment and the doctor be like, okay, well, when do you want to come in? You want to do 9 o'clock at night? Perfect. That works great. Like, you pick a time that fits within their schedule. And so you can do the same thing with your appointments. You can have ideal dates and times that you want to do appointments, and your customers, your hostesses, can pick from those. Yes, you can always make an exception, but it needs to be an exception and not the norm. All right. When that starts to become the norm, that's when you start to get frustrated. That's when you start to get resentful. That's when it can start to cause some issues with family, because it's not how it was ideally laid out. Okay. So weekly plan sheet, what would your ideal week look like, planning in faith time, self time, family time, career time? And then along those lines is even just, okay, if you are working, if you've got on this plan when you want to work, what are you going to do during those times? All right. And this is where we always talk about our lovely brain dump, that if things start to get overwhelming, if things start to get chaotic, it's typically because we're trying to do way too many things or keep track of too many things, that we're not able to truly prioritize those things. So when you are feeling overwhelmed, one of the first things I want you to always think about is, okay, let me just, instead of trying to go faster and do more and, be in more places, to take out a notebook and to be able to say, okay, what are all the things that I need to do? Let me write them all down, because then I can look at them rationally, logically, and be able to prioritize what is the most important thing. It's like, have you guys ever done this when you go for vacation? That's your time that you think you have to do everything. Like, you try to do things before you leave for vacation that you have put off for 4 weeks, right? But you think it has to be done before you leave for vacation, when it really doesn't. But that deadline has given you incentive to try to finish those things. So when you have all of these things on paper, now you can look at it and be able to prioritize it. What does have to be done right away? If you're looking at your calendar, and this is one of the things, to sit down at least once a week and update this list. I mean, you cannot just do this list one time. Don't sit down this afternoon and do this list and be like, okay, I brain dumped, I never have to do it again. That's not how this works, So you do this daily, weekly, to make sure that everything that needs to be done is on paper, and then you can prioritize it. And I always love, one of the things to look at when you're prioritizing is to look at them as far as high, medium, and low priorities. And high priorities are people. If you have a party, like Lisa's headed to a party right now, that is a high priority. And so there were things that she had to do to prepare for that that would have trumped doing other things. You know what I mean? Those were a higher priority than her posting on her Facebook group. You have to kind of look at it as far as high priority is people. The medium priority is the paper or the things that support people. So again, if you have a party that you're getting ready to do, there are paper things, there are things that support you doing that party. So maybe that looks like a high priority would be to call the hostess and confirm and to coach her. A medium priority would maybe be to send her a thank you postcard to say thank you so much for hosting, or after the party as a thank you. Maybe it was putting the packets in the mail so that they had samples if you're doing something virtually. Those kind of things are your medium priorities. And then low priorities is anything else paper-wise. And those are the things that we can look at as far as delegating. And that's something that Maya is going to talk about here in just a little bit as well. But when you look at your list and you prioritize it that way by looking, okay, when's the deadline? When is this event coming up? Or when do I have to have this done by? And then looking at those priorities will just kind of help you to put it in a different frame of mind. And then when you know you have the block of Mary Kay time to work, you know exactly what it is that you need to do. And that's also where your 6 most important things list comes into play. When you've got this list every night before you go to bed, you should have your 6 most important things list for the next day. And I know that is also easier said than done. Sometimes I know that's something that I'm not consistent with, but when I do that, I know that when I wake up, I know exactly what to do. When I don't have that, then it's like, oh, okay, well, now this seems important when maybe it's not. And so it keeps you focused and it keeps you clear on what those things are that you need to do. I always loved it. I don't remember who said this, is that at night when you're doing that 6 most important things list, you are the CEO. Like you are the boss, you are in charge. This is the list. And when you wake up and you're looking at that 6 most important things list, you're the employee. You are doing the work that the boss set aside for you the night before. You may be both of those people, but at different times in your business, you play those different roles. And then the other thing with this is to really think about, especially when it comes to scheduling, is to think about your boundaries. And I know this is a super important subject that probably does not get talked about enough, but we truly want it to be that you have this ideal week when you are planning out your week. And if you have set it as being work time, then you work. If you have set it as family time, then you are present with your family. There is that confusion. I know there's been times that if I'm sitting at my computer or even sitting down in front of the TV, but I have my computer, then instinctively people think I'm doing Mary Kay. Well, I may not be, but I'm also not fully present to my family, And so you want to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, you are fully present, you are fully there. You are paying attention to what it is that you're doing. And even to think about setting, looking at your schedule and the things to do, is it's okay to designate days of the week or certain times for certain activities. Especially if you are working another job, but really for anything, is to set okay, Fridays are my delivery days, or Mondays is when I go to the bank, or those kind of things, so that you can truly, again, make your schedule your own, make it how you want it to be. But it also gives you that freedom and that flexibility to be able to share that with customers, that even this week I knew that I was not able to do deliveries until Friday. So I was able to communicate that with my customers and be like, okay, if you need it before then, you can come pick it up at my house. Otherwise, I will deliver it to you on Friday. And so to think about those kind of things, when are you going to the bank? When are you going to the post office? Do you have to be the one going to the bank? Do you have to be the one going to the post office? And again, Maya will touch on that. But again, to really think the big picture with this is, when I say I'm doing something, be fully present there. So again, if you say you're working, be fully present to work. If you say you're with your family, be fully present with your family as well. All right. And then the last thing, and I know Maya will kind of talk, I think, a little bit about this possibly as well, is to do what we kind of call like a bug list. If there are things that you're doing is when you're doing your brain dump or looking at what your ideal week is, if there are things that are on there that frustrate you, bug you, that's why it's called a bug list, make a list of that. And then that can now be your problem solving list to figure out, okay, how can I make this easier? How can I make this automatic? How can I create a system for this? How can I give this to somebody else to help me with? All of those kind of things, so that when you are, again, when you're working on things that you want to work on, they're the things that bring you joy. They are the things that help you move forward in this business. They are needle moving activities. They are the things. So while we talk about income producing activities, you need to be doing the things that help to make you money. And all of the other things can be done by somebody else as well. And so Maya is going to talk next about that huge area of discussion.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Well, Mary, thank you so much for your wisdom on maximizing our time. I'm glad you're the best. Thanks. Oh, it's okay. It's good. Okay, thanks. He was not down here the whole 30 minutes, so it's great. Well, hey. Oh my gosh, guys. I am so excited to talk to you guys about something that I am so incredibly passionate about. And that is upgrading your business. And I want to talk to you about how even more to maximize your time by releasing the pressure that you have to be the one to do it all. Y'all, you can create such a harmonious, peaceful, and joyful business when you release that pressure. And for whatever reason, actually, there was a study recently that moms of this generation feel more pressure to be the one to have to do all the things to keep up with all the other Pinterest and Instagram moms. And it kind of really broke my heart that that is such a stigma that is alive today. Because we do that instinctively without even trying, right? We look at someone else and we just think, oh, she's got it all together, and whatever the case may be. And so I just am so incredibly passionate. And probably the question I get asked the most is, how do you do it all? Like how do you do that all? And I always say, I don't do it all. I have learned that I do not have to be the one to do it all. And I can create such joyful and harmonious business and family life and a spiritual life. And this last year, I would say, is probably the first time ever I really leaned into even really learning how to take care of my mental health. And so I'm so passionate about this. So when you think of the word help, what do you think of? I want you to write that down. Sometimes you might think, oh, because I need help, I'm not good enough, or I am failing at this. And so I actually looked up some synonyms of help, because I thought this is important to hear, that help doesn't mean that you're not smart, talented, capable, or freaking fabulous. It simply just means that you are learning how to be better at maximizing your time and your priorities. And you realize you don't have to be the one to do it all. So who in your life could assist, contribute, create, advance, advise, organize, prep, and pack? Okay. And when I was reading these words, I was like, ooh, I like that someone does all of those things for me. And I'm also coming off of this because I just had a 3-month hiatus where I did not have an in-person office assistant for the first time since 2013. And so I felt like this is something, not only was I really passionate about it, but now I'm even like more passionate about this. And you don't have to reach a certain level before you get whatever that looks like for you, whatever you need to create harmony and joy and peace and fun. You don't have to be driving a car before you get that. You don't need, I honestly think every beauty consultant, before she even gets into red, should consider assistance or a secretary or help or that creative person in their life. So here are some areas to delegate. And so I want you to ask yourself the question, what is everything I do in my Mary Kay business? Because it's hard to delegate before you know what you even do, right? So go ahead right now. We're going to have 2 columns. We're going to have everything you do in your Mary Kay business. Okay. And then on the other column, I want you to write everything you do to run your home. Okay, so I want you to write down everything, and I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple minutes. And so I'm just going to start listing you guys some things. And if you think of something that I didn't share, go ahead and pop it in the chat or something like that. So here are areas to delegate within your office, within your business. You guys, I also want to tell you that my very first office was my dining room table. I did not have an office. Okay. So I know it's easy to look at all of this and to be like, oh my gosh, I'll never get there because I don't have that. My dining room table was my office. And it also, I have this corner bookshelf that held all of my product that is now in my laundry room today. And I told Jordan I can never get rid of it because that is how my Mary Kay business started. And so that bookshelf is very sentimental to me. And now it's funny to look at everything today. So areas to delegate in your office, whatever your office might be. Okay. So unpacking and organizing inventory, stickering all of your product, cleaning mirrors and trays, organizing and shipping orders, scheduling customer posts, scheduling party posts, going to the bank, going to the post office, ordering all the things you need to run your business. So do you need mailers? Do you need stickers? Do you need a Christmas decor? Do you need extra like wands and things, which I know we can get that on InTouch, but let's be real, Amazon's a lot cheaper. So, I mean, I know Mary Kay does a really great job of supplying most things, but there are a few things you can get on Amazon. Do you need to pack up for a wedding thing that you have? Oh my gosh, you guys. So my sister gets married tomorrow and I'm going to go up to her house this afternoon for dinner and all the things. But I scheduled another wedding to do. So literally right after this, I'm going to go do another wedding party and then drop my kids off at a birthday party. And then my husband's going to pick up the kids from a birthday party. And no joke, this week, part of my delegating tasks was please pack my bag for the bridal party. Like, I didn't even touch my bag and it is ready to go. All I had to do was literally grab the brush bin, which was also delegated, cleaning your brushes. So what are things in your Mary Kay business that you do every day, every week? And a reason why I think it's important that you make this list is I want you guys to see all the things that you're spending time doing. Okay. So if you thought of anything else, go ahead and drop it in the chat. But those are just some quick things I could think off the top of my head. Now, let's go to the house. Let's go to the house. All right. We all know the amount of cleaning, from the mopping to the vacuuming to the dusting to the laundry to the groceries to the unpacking of the groceries to the meal prep to the childcare to I mean, even packing your suitcases or packing up your car or cleaning all sports activities. Okay. My kids are not in sports, so I don't have to worry about jerseys and all the things or what have you. But what are all the household things that you have to do to run your home? Everything from your animals to your children to your husband I mean, oh my gosh, that doesn't even include our church schedule. That is just our home. And those are just the things I could think off the top of my head. And so I want you to write all of these things down because it's hard to create a harmonious schedule. It's hard to delegate when you don't know what are you doing all the time. That's why I think this time study is so significant. But then looking at this list of what is all the things I'm doing in my business, and then what are all the things I'm doing in my home. And out of these things, I want you to ask yourself, what on this list would nobody know if I was the one who did it? You all probably don't know that I do not mail a thing. You all probably don't know that I don't package anything. So you probably don't even realize that, I mean, literally other than writing a thank you note for a package, like, I've even learned to delegate picking out the prizes and then I pick my favorites. Like literally all the things. So ask yourself the question, would anybody know if I was really the only one who did or didn't do this thing? Probably not. Probably not. And so, is your pride going to keep you from creating a harmonious life? Okay. And I know I'm stepping on some toes right now because I am so incredibly passionate about helping you discover your God-given roles, potential, and calling. And sometimes our pride can get in the way of getting more help, getting more assistance. So As you're looking at this list, ask yourself this question. How much time on a daily basis do you spend doing some of these things? Okay. How much time do you spend doing some of these things? 2 hours a day? 10 hours a week? 15 hours a week? Go ahead and write down your number. Now I have another question. How much time do you think about doing these things? So much can hold us back just by thinking about it. And when you've learned how to delegate and release it and move on, now not only have you freed up the physical time, but you've also freed up the mental time. And like I said, I feel like this last year was probably one of the very first times I really dove in to releasing and delegating the things in which I even think about. So if XYZ freaks me out, let me give you an example. Oh, I forgot to say this, scheduling all of my customer posts. I get overwhelmed at trying to figure out what to post. So guess what? So-and-so assistant, will you please research 30 interactive customer Facebook groups, and I will pick which ones are my favorite. And then I'm going to have you go into my customer group and schedule them every morning for 8 a.m. And I know my unit knows this. All of the schedules that go out for our techs, that is all delegated. So I don't even have to think about whether or not it's happening because I already know it's been delegated to have happen, which is also really funny because in August, somehow we messed it, not we, she accidentally messed it up. And so on September, what was it? September, like the first weekend in September, you got all the August text messages. That has never happened before, but you just laugh at those moments. So anyway, so how much time do you spend on a daily, weekly basis doing these things? And then how much time do you spend thinking about these things? All right, you got your number? Let's say your number is 10. Okay, let's just say the number is 10 hours a week that you spend either doing or thinking about these things. 10 hours. Now take that time and add that to the time that you are now allotted to cultivate relationships in your business, to hold a party, to hold an interview, to pour into people, to go and meet new people, to hold a vendor show, to meet 5 to 10 new clients. How could adding 10 hours of peaceful and harmonious work to your Mary Kay business make an impact? 10 hours. Okay, because let's get real. How many hours do you think you're working on a weekly basis right now? I'm going to guess anywhere between 5 to 10. If we're really log the work time and not the think time, I am going to be bold enough to tell you, most of you probably work 5 to 10 hours a week, maybe on a good week, 15 hours. Now add 10 extra hours. How could that change the trajectory of your Mary Kay business and also bring a lot of peace? Okay, bring a lot of peace. Does a CEO do everything for her company? No. No, she puts the right people in the right place to do the very best work and make her company succeed. My friends, when we say that you are the CEO of your business, that does not mean you have to be the one who does every single role. It truly means that you are going to advocate, create, make what kind of schedule and company you want to create. And so ask yourself these questions. Okay, here are some really awesome practical steps. What are things that you do on a daily or weekly basis that frustrate you? More than likely, this thing goes on the bug list. Okay. The bug lists are things that you find yourself doing that make you go, ugh, or you're rolling your eyes, or you're mad at your husband, or you're mad at your children, or you're mad at your Mary Kay team, or you're mad at your director because you are spending more time doing things that drive you crazy than actually doing things that bring you a lot of joy and fulfillment. And so that goes on the bug list. So the last 3 months, I have personally packaged every single pink pajama party packet that went out of my house. And I have not done that since ever. Like the last, and I'm only sharing this with you because I learned so much, because I really discovered, like, oh my word, if this is how I feel, and I love what I do, like I love what I do. I believe that God's called me to it. I believe that God's called you to it. That's why you are here. But if I felt that way, then I definitely know that you as consultants get frustrated doing things and you think, oh my gosh, I can never be a sales director because I could never earn a car, or I could never build a great red team because if this is what I have to do all the time, then I don't want to be a part of it. Well, for 3 months doing that, I was like, I am gonna like lose my ever loving mind because I was doing things that were not bringing me joy. So that's the next question, is what brings you joy in your Mary Kay business? And then what brings you joy in your personal life? I realize there may be things in your business that you have so much joy with. You may be so creative and crafty and awesome, and that's fantastic. I'm not trying to rob you of those things, but I am trying to make you aware that there are things that you're doing probably that are not bringing you joy, irritating you, and you think that's what it takes to build a great business. And that's suffocating you and like keeping you from moving up, because that is not what you're supposed to be doing. My friend, you are cultivated and called and created to build relationships with women. I am going to, hands down, 100% just feel so confident that's what you love the most, right? That's what we love the most. We get the most joy and excitement when we meet a new customer, when we're sharing the Mary Kay opportunity, when you're training your new team member. That's why you're a red jacket, because you ultimately love doing those things. And so when you're stuck over here doing all these other things that keep you from building relationships, we begin to believe into this idea that this is what it takes to build a great business. Well, I don't want that. Well, I don't want that either. I want to be over here building and growing fantastic, strong relationships with my customer base and my team. So do what brings you joy without guilt. Make that bug list so you're aware of it. And then I'm going to even go a step further. Make a bug list even with or for your husband. What are things that are on his bug list that you know you need to have done? So much conflict, I believe, comes from Mary Kay couples because there's a lack of communication of expectations and what is expected and what is necessary and what does your spouse need? What do your children need? What do your children want? And I think it's really, really important. Like my kids know, you guys, I created a very firm boundary and I really stuck to it, was that Fridays were family fun Fridays and mama was not working. And you guys, I stuck to it that my kids just as much look forward to Fridays as I did. And we did. We went and had so many great memories this summer. A lot of it was at the pool, but I stopped releasing this pressure that I had to do all these Pinterest worthy trips. And my kids just wanted to go to the pool. And that's what we did. And it was probably one of the most amazing, even though I was without an office assistant, it was probably one of the most coolest things I've really discovered was I leaned in and asked my kids, what did they want? Instead of assuming I had to do all of these things over here to create whatever I thought would make me a great mom. Okay, so having clear communication with your spouse about, so now when you're talking to your husband about getting assistance, help, creative advice, childcare, whatever that looks like. I remember coming to Jordan in 2013. I was a brand new DIQ for the third time. Okay. I was submitting DIQ for the third time. And I was so stinking stubborn that when Linda came to Joplin in November of 2012, she was like, Maya, I think you need an assistant. And I looked at her and I laughed. I laughed at her at lunch at Panera Bread. I remember being there because her face at me was just appalled. But she was like, you really need help. You really need assistance. And I was like, I don't need assistance. I don't even have kids. Like, why would I even need assistance? And after a couple of months of missing some qualifications for becoming a sales director in a car, I was like, I probably should listen to the person who knows what they're talking about. And I finally got help. So here's what that looked like. Jordan, I think I'd like to get an assistant, and I am willing to pay her from my Mary Kay profits. I'm willing to pay her for my Mary Kay profits, because then that keeps you committed. You want to gain a supportive spouse. You do what you say you're going to do, and then you follow through with your own Mary Kay money. This is not coming from your income, from your budget. But I said, will you give me 3 months? Will you give me 3 months to see if this works? And if it doesn't work, okay, it doesn't work. And so here's how I started. 1 day a week, this high school student would come over and do all the things I just talked about. No joke. She would grocery shop for Jordan and I. She would come and unbox all of my product. She would do all of my laundry, which was just Jordan and I at the time. But it was about 4 to 6 hours worth of work every Saturday that she would come. And of course, we were flexible, whether it was in the morning or the afternoon or the evening or whatever. But she came, and 3 months later, I debuted as a sales director. Now, I don't believe it's just because I got an assistant. I definitely had some work in there and a good mind shift. But here's what I also know is I stopped believing in this pressure and lie that I had to be at a certain status or level or title before I got assistance. And two, guys, that I knew how to run this business. I had just been focusing on the wrong things. I had been splitting my time between doing the things that were not bringing me joy or making an income or helping me towards my goals. And when I was able to release all of that and really come in over here and just focus on building relationships, I was able to do that. We debuted, and a few months later, we earned our Equinox. And then that very first year, I earned my pink Cadillac. And I really believe that came from releasing the pressure to be the one to do it all. And as my Mary Kay business has grown, as I've had children, as we've created different goals, I've learned that you really can have whatever the desires of your heart. And when you really release that you do not have to be the one to do it all, and that you can get great assistance, creative advice, support, craftiness, and people in those life. There are women out there who would love to be in that role. So look in your customer base, look in your church, look in your friend group. At one point I was paying my baby sister to watch my kids, and so getting different help for different things. So like I said, Mary Kay Ash, Mary Kay. Oh, hold on. Let me ask. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I'm almost done with my notes here. Okay. So I want to tell you, like I said, what my summer was like, because I felt like it was exhausting. And it was not the most fun working summer in the sense of after June. So July and August, and even up until this week, have I felt like a little drained. So I was emotionally drained because I was trying to be all the things to all the people all the time. I always felt behind. Like my list was not getting done because I was adding more things to my to-do list without enough time to do it. Okay. Therefore, I felt like I was failing, and that's not a fun place to be. I forgot, and I let my customers down a lot. Like, I mean, when you have too many plates, y'all, one of them is bound to fall, right? Like one of them is bound to fall. And I also felt like I let my people down, my unit down. Like that's how I felt. When you're trying to be all the things to all people, you're burning the candle at both ends. You're going to drop a plate. I was unable to focus. I was really short-tempered with my man because I wasn't able to work at the caliber that I could. I even saw how this financially hurt us more because I didn't able to work. I remember asking myself, how do consultants do this without assistance? And I don't even have another job. Okay. Like I don't even work another full-time job. Like I just remember asking that. And I realized that here's what I realized is consultants give up before they take a leap of faith of getting help. Please, please, please promise me that you would not give up on your Mary Kay business, your goals and your dreams that are on your heart before you take a leap of faith and get assistance. Mary Kay Ash and her new consultant notes in 1963, she said, get a maid. And so if she told us to do it 58 years ago, don't wait anymore. I believe that whatever you are looking for, desiring, is on the other side of releasing and delegating everything that you're trying to get done on the to-do list. So I pray that this encourages you today. I pray it convicts you. I pray that I kind of like maybe ruffled your feathers a little bit, because as your mentors, we are not called to just be your best friends. We are called to make you think new thoughts and lead you to a place that you have not been willing yet to go. So now Heidi is going to talk to you guys about tracking numbers and maximizing the rest of September for double credit.
Oh my gosh, you guys, that was so powerful. I mean, I could just walk away and be done. I mean, seriously, those areas are so solid in growing and moving up. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. And so really quick, Maya, at my grand opening, I had not made $1 yet because I told her I wanted to be a sales director. She had me go ahead and hire somebody at my grand opening to be my office assistant. And so I'm like, I haven't even made money yet. But what I love about these areas that time and getting support systems in place and tracking is especially the first two, as you grow up the career path, those are always changing. You're always adjusting, okay, as you move. And so if my goal was sales director, she knew what I needed to put in place to make that happen. So it was scary, but oh, I'm so glad that I listened. I'm so glad that I did, okay? And that's before I even thought I could become a sales director. You just fake it till you make it. I am so excited to talk to you guys about, Red Jacket, what it means to do with tracking, because now that you're in the Red Jacket leadership, tracking is going to be your best friend. Okay. Whether you like numbers or not, this is something that you can grow in your skill set. And so that's very encouraging. And so basically, as a Red Jacket, as we look at maxing out double credit, a couple things were kind of going through my mind that I jotted down. One is we need to have a goal. Okay. And I know this sounds very simple, but sometimes we just don't set a goal. So what is your max out goal? Okay, for September, because everything is double credit. I'm not going to go down through the list and break that out like what it means, because we've posted that in our groups. But what I do want to say is I want you to have a goal in both sales and one in recruiting, okay? Because as a Red Jacket, that is working full circle. That's building you as a leader into this company, whether you want to be a sales director or a car driver, or just be a solid red leader. It's good to have both skill sets and to build both, okay? So if you haven't made a goal this month for your goal for Max It Out, then I would, and it's going to be very personal to you, set it in both areas. So go ahead and write that as your to-do list if you haven't done that. And let me tell you, as a Red Jacket, your team, okay, they are waiting on you. They are wanting to be inspired by you. So by you stepping out and setting those goals and communicating to your team, hey guys, this is my my goal, not Red Jacket goal, but this is my goal for Max It Out. I'm so excited. And they are looking to you for that leadership. And you are building their confidence, you guys. They are looking to you as a Red Jacket already as a leader, because you are already a leader. And so when they're seeing the confidence that you have, that makes them be more inspired and brings confidence to them. It's just so encouraging. Confidence begets confidence. Okay. And so I think of Red as a very confident spot in the career path. I love Red Jackets. And so you guys are the most confident in our units. You guys are the ones setting the pace. And for your teams also, work smart as a leader. So as a leader, you want to know the company promos. You want to know what's out there so that you can take full advantage of the career path, of all of your streams of income, that you can know it inside and out, because guess what? It affects your paycheck. And so we want to know our numbers because of that as well. You want to know how much income you make. You want to know. So know the company promos. That way, when your girls come to you, you can kind of coach them and say, hey, well, this is what I'm doing to reach my goal. And it gets so fun growing together. And so how does your goals, affect your team, but also look at the future of what it is for, like I said, your paycheck. So if you know, like how you can max out the month, you can see the numbers of how it's going to affect you and your income. So I think that's really, really wise. Another system that you can use for tracking, and I'm going to go through double credit here at the very end, is Pacesetters. If you're part of the Pacesetters program, it's a very practical way. You're already, by doing Pacesetters, you'll probably start already meeting your Max It Out goal for the month. There's Pacesetters. So, hey guys, that system's already in place. So you can start to do that. If you just don't know where to start, that's a great starting spot, I believe, because it's going to support your Max Out goal for sales and also for recruiting. Okay. Because it's included in the Pacesetters already. A couple of things about numbers and tracking is I want you guys to look at your customer base. Always know like how many people, or, within, relatively the last 90 days or so, you need to kind of know where your business is. Like, how many people do I have in my customer group on In Touch? How many people? I'm always looking at numbers. How many people am I reaching in my VIP group? How can I increase those numbers? Because getting in front of the most amount of people is going to be great for your numbers. And as you grow, if you decide to grow up the career path. And so knowing your numbers is so smart. So I'm always asking my unit, how many people do you guys have in your VIP group? How many people are engaged? How many can we add? How many can we add to our customer group? And of course, a lot of that can come through parties too. So, so knowing your numbers, that is so, so important. And tracking is going to give you confidence. So once you really master your tracking, and this is an area I'm still growing in, there's areas that I see, oh my gosh, I haven't tracked that forever. Well, no wonder, whatever you give attention grows. And so one of the things I've talked a lot about in our unit is about money and making income. And so I say, okay, if a track numbers grows and I want to make income, wouldn't it make sense to track my income and to track where my money goes? Because it's really, really wise, as a leader. What is it? Tracking gives you confidence, like I said, because you can see it on paper. It's not in your head and what you think and the stories that you conjure up about, oh, nobody's, buying, or nobody's, saying yes to Mary Kay. So let's look back and see if that track number on paper, how many people have I asked about Mary Kay? Okay, well, that's probably why, I don't have my recruiting goal hasn't been met yet, because you can go backwards and look at your activity. And so to me, it brings me confidence that, oh gosh, well, no wonder nobody's booked, because look here, I've only reached out to 5 people, not 10, and usually 1 in 10 book for me, right? And also know your own personal numbers. I am going to go over the company numbers, but as you grow as a leader, it's like a challenge. Like, your numbers can beat the company numbers. And a lot of you on here, they already do. Okay. And so that's kind of exciting because, I'm going to give you the company numbers just so you know them, but really look at your own personal number and watch that number grow, like your face number grow, your income for each face grow, your recruiting shares that grow, like you talk to less people and more people join. And it's because you're looking at that, you're paying attention to that. And so I love that. Also, tracking shows us where we need to strengthen ourselves. Okay. It shows us the weak link that sometimes we don't want to look at, like sometimes I'd rather not know. Right. But really, as a leader, we know we got to suck it up. Right. It's like, okay, when I track, I can see this is why. So this is my weak link. Maybe I'm really good in this area, but I'm not really good in this area. And it shows in my tracking because, my activity isn't there. Right. Or the results that I'm getting is not there. So it's going to highlight for you the areas that you can strengthen a little bit. And this is so funny because I have this in my notes. No joke. CEO, see the CEO? So we all said CEO. CEOs of their business, guess what? They know their numbers. I always talk about that. And CEOs know their numbers. So as you are the CEO of your company, I want you to, even if you haven't done it in the past, it's okay. It's a new day. And sometimes sometimes I have to go back and relook at my numbers because they're old numbers. And that's what I find myself as challenged, is going off old numbers. Okay, I got to find my more current numbers. But CEOs know their numbers. They know if they're making an income. And guess what? What have you not been willing to track is probably the thing that's holding you back. Okay. So I want you to take the emotion out of it, right? And just look at the practicality, and just the numbers speak on paper. And I know Linda would always say, this business, if you run it from emotion, you will be broke. But there's a time to use your emotion, but it's not in looking at the numbers. At the numbers, you can just look at them and then say, okay, don't take it as like a, where it shuts you down, but just look at it as if you were looking at somebody else's numbers. That's the best way, because sometimes we don't like our numbers. At least sometimes I don't like mine. And when I look at it, I'm like, okay, take the emotion out of it, quit crying and quit thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get there. Just look at it and say, okay, what do I need to do? It's usually with the thing that I'm not willing to track is the thing that is going to hold me back. Okay. Does that make sense? And sometimes, you guys, it's the smallest tweak. It's not usually a big thing. It's really a small thing, very small thing. And it's like, what have I been unwilling to do? You guys have probably heard that before. Tracking gives you vision. I know that sounds weird, but when you can track something, you can get confident and you can get excited when you reach a goal. And then you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, my vision can go bigger because now I saw this come to fruition because I tracked it, I watched it, and I grew it. And now I can have vision for a bigger goal. So tracking, if you want to be a Cadillac sales director, top sales director of a national, whatever it is, if you want to be a sales director, but you can't think that thought yet, it's okay. Start where you are, track it, know your numbers, and then you're going to get the confidence, and then you're going to see the vision come. And then guess what? You're going to get the confidence to set a bigger goal, and you're going to get bigger vision. So that's kind of how that works. Okay. It's happened to me. I've tracked it, and then it gives me the confidence to hit a bigger vision. Okay, so now, so that was kind of like, yay, let's do this. let's get, awesome with our tracking. Let's be the best trackers and let's know our numbers. Let's be confident. Let's be the best CEOs of our business, and that we can stand in confidence when we're recruiting with people, when our husbands ask where your money's coming from, or where you're, that we know how much we make and what we need to make this business. And so you girls are smart, you're wonderful. And so don't discount yourself. Please do not. Okay, so now let's go to real quick, maximizing double credit. Okay, so okay. As you set your goal, communicate your goal with your sales director for accountability, because I think that's really, really good. I'm going to talk really fast here. How does your double credit support the goal of your unit? Because your goal supports the goal of your unit. And oh my gosh, you guys, that's huge, and so I love that. So here are some basic numbers, okay, for double credit. Okay. So if you wanted to max out 6, I'm going to start with sharing. Okay. If you wanted to max out with 6 new team members, right, this month, here's what you got to know. The company average is 1 in 5 recruit, but know your numbers. Your numbers may not be that way. Okay. So 1 in 5 recruit. So you need to have 30 recruiting conversations this month, right? But in order to have 30 recruiting conversations, you need to see 60 faces or be in front of 60 people. Why do I know that? Because on an average, half of the people that you ask to share with will say yes, they will help you with a goal to share. So if I have 60 people to share, 30 will say that they will they will sit down and do a sharing appointment with me. And out of those 30, 1 in 5 will recruit according to the company average. Okay. And so what does that look like? That looks like 12 parties of 5 people. If you do the party, or you can look at faces. And that puts me in front of 60 people. Back that down. If you want 3 new recruits, maybe your goal is 3 new, then with 1 in 5 recruiting, that's the company average. What you'll want to do is you want to have 15 recruiting convos, and you want to see 30 faces, and that's 6 parties of 5 people will put you in front of 30 people, and 30 people will 15 people will be willing to listen. And out of that 15 people, 3 will recruit. Okay. So you guys kind of get the picture. And then if you want 1 new, you can break that down. So let me go to the sales really quick. 2,000 in wholesale would mean that you were selling 4,000 retail, okay, to max out double credit. So maybe you're going to break it down according to items, okay? So the item challenge, I learned from Monica Gabo, is that out of our whole entire line, the average item is $20. Okay. And so if you do the item challenge, which these girls are, Mary and Maya have done this amazing, and I'm sure Jennifer do the item thing a lot. So you guys, the item challenge is something kind of more new for me, but it's 200 items at $20 an average. Okay. Now I did my numbers this month because I was doing the 58 items for the Mary Kay birthday, and my average item was lower, is 15.6. And it's okay. It's a number. Then I thought to myself, how can I increase that average? What items am I, so that's why you need to know your own number, because mine fell below what the average was. And so then I knew that, okay, my average is a little lower than the 20. So I need to increase that item challenge, you see, to hit my goal. So that's why knowing your numbers is very powerful. So take the emotion out of it. Just look at the numbers, look at the data, process the data. 1,000 wholesale equals 2,000 in retail. That would give you, according to the average here, 100 item challenge. Okay. If you wanted to break down selling with faces, the average is one face equals $100, okay, of sales, of retail sales. So that'd be 40 faces times 100 would be 4,000 retail. So are you willing to see 40 faces this month to max out your 2,000? Maybe you're not. Maybe you're like, that's too much for my schedule and my time or whatever. Maybe 20 faces, that would give you 2,000. And then I will close with this. I always tell my unit, there are times that I will, 3 times in my business, that I will always reinvest. Well, no, I shouldn't say always, that I'm willing to reinvest my profit. There's only 3 times. 1, when I'm earning a car. 2, when it's June, and 3, when it's double credit. And I don't feel guilty if I reinvest my profit. So maybe you're like 4,000 is way too much in your mind to sell, maybe 2,000, and just reinvest all your profit and put it into your Christmas, open house. And then you're going to make a lot more money. And so it's double credit. You're going to get paid for it. And so anyhow, Reds, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I'm sorry we went over. I hope that's empowering for you guys.
Woohoo! I love that. That was awesome, Heidi. And I think it truly is. I mean, even to marry all of this together, the thought that I had as Heidi was talking is, if you're looking at your numbers and what your goals are and all of those things, you also have to make sure that that matches your time and the amount of help.
Yep.
And so I think that that is super important, because like Maya said, we tend to give up right at that point before getting that help because it is frustrating. And I think it's the same thing with the tracking, and knowing that is, if we're not tracking, we don't know what we're working towards. But then when we are tracking and can see those numbers, and again, it brings us back to that logical side of things, that can help us to know, okay, if this is my goal to max out double credit this month, then maybe I need more help this month. Maybe I need to have more time in my Mary Kay business this month to match that. Again, when we're talking about expectations, everything what we're expecting has to match our activity level and all the things behind the scene as far as our time and our help that we have with that. And it is like she said, that tracking builds confidence and it gives you vision, because it keeps you focused on things. It keeps you knowing what you're working towards. And so I would love, like Laura, Vicki, I know Lisa had to hop off for her party. Is there anything that you guys, are there questions or just aha moments or new thoughts or anything like that before we close this out?
It was fantastic. There was a lot of confirmation for me. And I think what really clicked for me is look at the data, the numbers, look at the data, and the data that will tell you the whole story. And so that way it takes the emotion out of it. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. And I have to give kudos to Vicki, because as far as the help goes, I've loved these conversations that we've had, because she has enrolled her husband. And so he is helping, do post office runs, do different things like that. And so she is getting everything set up on that track of it to create systems and to create things in place so that she is able to work in that joy zone of being in front of people, working with people. And so I just kudos to you for that, Vicki.
For me, it's not new to track. I just haven't done it. And as you know, Maya, she has drilled that into my head and mentions it as much as she possibly can. And I'm like, I know, I need to do that. So it's my own fault, but and there's just millions of excuses. And so this is my new area. And Brad was like, well, I guess you can, because we have a very loud son. And so he's like, maybe just stay in the bedroom. I go, or I can go into the studio. And he goes, yeah, you have an area now. I do. And so I feel like once I get this, it's just going to motivate me. I'm going to have a reason now. I need to pay for this, right? And so, and I'm still haven't crossed I need assistance. I'm right there, but then now it's the financial point. Can I afford it? So.
And I think that's a good question, because you really do have to take this, like, let go and grab on at the same time, because you won't be able to afford it until you do it. Like, there's actually a study that goes around that says, were you able to afford assistance before you got help? And everyone will hands down tell you, no, they couldn't, because they weren't able to spend time doing the things that they needed to create income for. But when you release that time and you add 10 hours, oh, now I have 10 hours. Yeah. Now you have 10 hours to go make income. And so, yeah, that's how I started slow, in the sense of, I'm not going to go from no assistant to like assistant every day. It was 1 day a week.
Right.
Okay. Wow. That's very,
Now, I think that's what stood out. Like, okay, I really can just have 4 hours.
Yep.
I can get a lot done in 4 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I know my children aren't destroying the living room.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, and so that was like, okay. So break it down hourly. That's maybe 2 faces. If just keep breaking it down. And that's, I'm tracking it in my head. Now, if I just did that on the paper, so I can look back. So it's starting to make sense.
Good.
Well, and it's one of those things that you do truly have to trust the thought of, you can't afford not to. And again, it doesn't have to be 20 hours a week, to start. But even if it's like, okay, if I could have somebody do this one thing for me every week, and then it can just continue to grow with that. And that way you feel confident in your ability to be able to cover that. Right. But then you also gain that confidence in their ability and in yours to be able to add more to their plate as well. Because I think it is huge. And I was trying to find that chart, because I had actually just asked for that chart recently for myself.
Well, and I'm sure it's so different too with like virtual. Like, I think about how much I can get done now in 2 hours worth of Mary Kay work, whereas 2 hours of Mary Kay work 2 years ago, that was one part. 2 hours of Mary Kay work today.
Yes.
Oh, that's a lot of income, know? And so, yeah, it would be interesting to see that chart redone. Like, I wonder.
Yes. Yeah. Because that chart's like before COVID. And because I think that would be great, Maya, honestly, having, one done, redone with virtual, because I look at almost all of my help now is virtual, because I'm still working so much virtually. And, Laura, I only started with one little thing, and then I added, and then I added, and I added. So, and back then it was an office assistant because everything was in person. Now it may not be like that. And also house cleaner came in pretty quickly, because that's the thing I don't enjoy doing. It doesn't make me money, and it needs to be done. And so that came in kind of secondary, but now a lot of my help is virtual.
Well, and I think Laura, sorry, go ahead, Mary.
No, go for it.
Okay. I would say, Laura, too, I know we're in similar phases of life with small children. And so what help looked like for me to begin with back in March was I needed one night a week where I knew the kids were going to be taken care of and loved and watched, so I could work. Because evenings are when people are more so available to respond to phone calls, to respond to, text messages, to have parties. And so for me, I was able to find a babysitter that would come to my house. She comes on Monday nights for 3 hours. And it has been so helpful. So maybe, that may be an example of something that would help, and work for you. I don't know your husband's full work schedule, but it also didn't make it so my husband was like, I wasn't depending on him to have to watch the kids every evening I was going to work. And so this was one night a week where he could go do something, I could go do something, the kids were taken care of. I was really able to maximize my time by knowing I had those 3 hours to work. And also, like, getting an assistant empowers them, and it blesses other people too. I think that's what's been one of the biggest things for me. Is one of my virtual assistants is actually my sister. She was the one who was in the car accident, the one you met at the party back this summer at the lake. And she gets to work from home because I only have one car now. But because she's my virtual assistant, she doesn't have to travel anywhere to work, and it's been able to bless her. And of course, it's blessing me as well. So,
yes, absolutely. Well, and I did find that chart, and so I will share that. And again, it was done before virtual, because that really has changed things. And that's where I think it's important you have to kind of revisit some of these things, every so often, because your life circumstances change, seasons change, what your activities, you're in or your kids are in change, like all of those kind of things. So, well, as we are closing out, I do want to kind of remind you guys just to kind of take some time and kind of digest this. And I did record it because I know Lisa had to hop off. And so I'll get that uploaded and send it back out again in case you guys want to revisit or re-listen to it. But I would kind of take something from each of those snippets to be able to kind of think about, marinate on, work on the time study, to really look at, okay, how am I spending my time currently? Because that will give you a lot of eye-opening, thoughts as far as how you need to adjust things. Where are you spending time that you could have somebody come into your office to help, and look at all of those things that Maya talked about as well. And then, so I would say like time study, looking at the things that you do, those 2 lists that Maya talked about. What do you do in your office? What do you do in your home? So that you can look at getting help for that. And then like Heidi talked about, making sure you have a goal. What is your goal? Where do you want to finish at the end of September to work towards maxing out double credit? And then do you have a goal for like the next month or the next, few months till we finish out this calendar year? And just being able to look at that so that you know what you're working towards and you know what you're able to track. So, all right, Maya, Heidi, Jennifer, anything else to add to that? Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much. Have an awesome Saturday. And we'll see you the 3rd Saturday of October for our Red Hot call as well. So love you guys. Have an awesome week.